evidence that the structure of the brain is uncannily similar to the structure of the universe. This is pretty compelling. If we're talking that awe sense of, science.
Yeah. So if the brain is what conscious experience looks like when observed from the outside, from a third or second person perspective, then if all the universe is actually the appearance of one universal mind, you would expect to find a structure in some way similar to that of the brain, because both are appearances of mentation, of experiencing. So, is that the case? It turns out that it is the case. And studies have been done to avoid um, comparing misleading pictures, because if you're comparing just pictures, you can crop a picture in just the right way and do some color filtering just the right way that anything looks like anything else. But these things were studied with the tools of information theory, network topology, where you can derive specific salient properties about the structure of the universe at its largest scales, and the structure of brains, the network structure, and they are uncannily similar, and there is nothing known in physics that could justify this similarity. So that's curious, right?
It's very curious. And then another thing you introduced me to was the dissociative identity disorder. Now, I was phenomenally conscious of it to a degree, but but I wasn't really familiar with it. And I want to tie this in with an objection to idealism, because and there are lots of objections that you can swat away. I've seen you do it, and there are places for that. But a very obvious one is, for example, that I can't read your thoughts, you can't read my thoughts, right? So I was wondering if you could relate that to the dissociative identity disorder, particularly the Harvard paper, and then the woman who couldn't see. I've given you a lot there, but if you can tie them all together with a nice little bow, that would be great.
Yeah. So there is this psychiatric well-known condition called dissociative identity disorder, in which what was originally one center of awareness seemingly splits into multiple and separate centers of awareness, which used to be called um, multiple personalities in multiple personality disorder. Dissociative identity disorder is the new name in the DSM-5, the new manual of psychiatry. Until the beginning of this century, there were doubts whether this condition really existed, because all we had was what patients reported, being different people, having different ages, and some doctors thought, well, this is just an attempt to get attention. This condition doesn't really exist. But since the advent of neuroimaging, the ability to image the brain activity, we know that the condition is real. One example is this study done in 2015 in Germany. A woman with dissociative identity disorder had multiple alters, or split off personalities, a couple of which claimed to be blind and the others not. And the host was not blind, and her visual system was intact. So they had this brilliant idea of instrumenting her with an EEG cap to measure her brain activity. And when a blind alter was in executive control of the body, brain activity in the visual cortex, here, the back of the brain, would disappear, even though the woman's eyes were open and there was nothing wrong with her visual system. Now, that's something you cannot fake. And when the host personality or one of the other alters would assume executive control, normal brain activity would resume in the visual cortex. So dissociation is literally blinding. It is capable of rendering you blind to what is right in front of your eyes, even though your eyes are open and working. So, of course, it can render me incapable of reading your thoughts, and the other way around, even if we are part of one universal mind, one universal consciousness. We know that one mind undergoing this empirically established phenomenon of dissociation can seemingly split into different centers of awareness that become blind to what's happening in the rest of that mental context, even though at a fundamental level, it's all one mind. And we know that that's the case because people with DID can be cured. Those alters can be reintegrated into one host personality, which then remembers the memories of each alter as the person's own integrated memories. So my hypothesis is that this is what's happening right now. There is only one universal consciousness, and we are dreamed up avatars, like in Rupert's metaphor. Keep in mind, a dream is a dissociative state. You think you are your dream avatar, and you are not doing the streets, the cars, and the houses around you in the dream. While in fact, it is your mind doing the avatar and the streets, the cars, and the other houses and everything. It's one mind doing the whole thing. But in the dream state, you become dissociated from yourself. You split into the part of mind doing the context of the dream and the part of mind doing the avatar. So that's an example of dissociation. We are dissociated alters of this universal mind, and that's why we seem to be separate. But the underlying subjectivity in all of us is not only identical, it's one, it's the same. Just like it's the same underlying subjectivity doing the streets, the cars, and the houses in the dream and the dream avatar.
And you've shared a lovely story elsewhere. Well, it's not necessarily actually a lovely story at all, but a story about a woman with several dissociative avatars or alters, sorry. And she had this one dream, and they were all in various positions within this dream.
Oh,
I mean, yes, it was actually a bit of a gruesome scene, but it basically perfectly matches with Rupert's "We are one dream in God's infinite" or consciousness
yeah,
infinite.
that was researched by Dita Barrett from Harvard. She studied the dreams of patients with dissociative identity disorder, or DID, which is just an extreme form of dissociation. We all undergo dissociation. If you don't remember something you know that there you are dissociated from yourself. But DID becomes pathological because it becomes dysfunctional, so strong it is. Now, studying the dreams of patients with DID, the researcher realized that one quarter of them um, had dreams in which multiple alters were present, each alter experiencing the dream from its own point of view, and then relating the dream in a waking state from their own point of view. And each alter could see the other alters in the form of their own dream avatars, so to say. Actually, there was a dream in which one of the alters clubbed the other over the head with a stick.
Mm.
So you see, in your own mind, one mind, you can have multiple distinct centers of awareness that not only see each other, but can club each other over the head. So that happens in the mind of a person. The hypothesis here, as Rupert suggested, is take this one level up. This is what's happening in the mind of nature. We can see each other, interact with each other within the dream we call life, and even club each other over the head.